In the previous session of LaTeX, we saw how to handle complex math equations in LaTeX. In this session, we are going to see how to bring in figures inside the document using LaTeX. So we will begin with a blank document. So the first line is the document class with type article. Then we define the begin and the end document tag. Okay, so and here we type a few lines. This is a file to learn to insert figures in LaTeX. Okay, so now we'll save this file, have a preview before we make the necessary changes. So we are saving the file. The last time we had complex math, this time it is figures because we are working on them. Okay, so that document is saved and we get a preview. Okay, now everything looks good. We will see how to work on creating or inserting figures in the document. Towards this, I have downloaded three images from the internet. Okay, all the three are about roses. Just some images I have taken at random, so I have downloaded it. Now let us see how to bring these images inside the document. Okay, so I have a roses.png and then I have a img which is a JPEG file. There are two JPEG files and one PNG files. Now let us, in order to efficiently use figures, let us use a package, use package graphics, okay, with X as the end. This has some special features which we will use in the time of insertions of figures. Now let us actually see how to insert figures. So to begin with, we will open a tag called begin figure, end figure, okay, within which we actually will include the file name from which the figure has to be displayed. In order to do that, this is the syntax: include graphics, okay, followed by file name. So in this case, the key values we will come back to it later. So first we will remove the key values and we will only give the image file name. In this case, it is img JPEG. Okay, so let us take that img.jpg. Okay, so this is the file name on which we want the display from. Let us compile this. So see, we have the file. This was the image that I had on the file. Now it is getting displayed here. In LaTeX, this is what it is. Now if you see, the file size is very large, or the image is very large when we have a preview in LaTeX. So I want to reduce the size of the image and put it in a specific format. So this is where the options will start coming in for include graphics. So we will see the different options that you can probably have. See, manually I can scale down the image. So if you say scale is equal to say 0.5. Now let us have a preview and see how this image looks like. Which means the original size of the file is reduced to 50%. That is what, there was a huge display we saw the last time. So this time we see that it is going to be almost reduced by 50%. In order to see more drastic difference, let's say take it to 0.25% to see how it gets reduced. Okay, so you are getting, the scale is actually a scale of proportion with respect to the original file. So it need not be less. If suppose for example the original file size itself shows only this display, then it need not be less than 1. The scale can also be greater than 1. Okay, let us now see the other figures. I have just copied that. In this case, I am going to take this as image 2 and then let's see how that gets displayed, because that was another rose picture. Okay, so 0.25 of this scale is coming in as a small figure. Okay, so now depending upon what is the size of the original image, I can scale up or scale down. So let us see if this at least looks okay for 1.1 or if this is going to be huge. Yeah, so this is 1.1 times the original size of the rows. Okay, so you can either scale up or scale down depending upon your requirement. So some of these options I've just shown how to do that. Now this is in terms of scaling with proportion to the original size. Actually, we can also specify specific width and height for the figures. Let us try that. So instead of scale, I am going to say width is equal to say 10, comma, height is equal to say 5. Okay, so this is going to, let us see how this works. Sorry, I didn't give the measurement, right? Width is going to be 5 cm, height is going to be 3 cm. Now let's see how it works. So you have specifically given the width to be 5 centimeter, the height to be 3 centimeter. Now I can also increase. So this shows my width to be very less. So I am going to increase the width to be 10 centimeter. Now let us preview how this looks. I have not changed this height. So you will see the height remains the same. I have just increased the width. So like this you can experiment and see what is going to be the width and the height that you will require for the document, the image size in your document, and then you can do it. Okay. Now the other thing that I wanted to show was in most insertions of image we will give a caption, right? When we will simply not put the diagram and leave away, we will tell actually the caption. Okay. So in this case, in order to give the title, we will say slash caption, okay, with the title. So this is a bunch of roses. Now let us see how that gets displayed. So I have given the caption only for the first figure. So the moment I give a caption, it will start generating the figure numbers. So it says on the first figure, this is a bunch of roses. This is what I wanted to get it displayed. So in the second figure, let's see, I say this is my rose, something like that. Let's see how this looks. So this will automatically generate the figure number. See, now this becomes, this is my rose, whereas the previous quiz it was this is a bunch of roses. Now if you see, these figure numbers are also generated at runtime, meaning if you change the order of these figures, you don't need to do anything. Automatically LaTeX generates the figure numbers. So for example, now the figure numbers are swapped because this becomes the first figure and this becomes the second figure, because in the document at the time of compilation is how these figures are getting, numbers are getting generated. The main advantage of having this is, even if you change the placements as we refer the figures, which we will see subsequent section, how these numbers need not be manually changed. Automatically LaTeX picks up the corresponding numbers. We will see how to do that in the next session. For now, let us see. So these figure numbers are generated at runtime. So you are seeing the appropriate numbers along with the caption that you have actually placed it. Okay. Now let us see. If you see the actual document, this is the first line that I have written, which is actually coming at the end of the document, whereas the figures that I have placed here are coming before that. So this is because LaTeX actually optimally picks up the position of the figure by itself at the time of display. Okay, it says which is the appropriate position and then it picks up the option. But sometimes we may not like the figure as we have placed in, as it is placed by LaTeX. We may have a specific requirement in some scientific or formal documents where this figures has to appear in correct or appropriate places as we choose. So how do we override those options? Now let us see. If I say T to the end of this begin figure tag, it means force the image at the top. Okay, so let us compile this. This figure is already on the top, so you will not see much change there. But for that, I just downloaded some next text. Okay, so let us copy this notes from net. We will place all those junk contents here. Okay, some informations about roses I have just collected. Now let us see first how this document looks like before we try to place the figures at specific points. So this is a huge document and where the figures are coming at random. Now when I say top in this figure, it has come at the top of this page. Okay, so now I am going to cut this and place it here. Okay, somewhere in the middle. So it is coming somewhere here. Now let us compile and see how it happens. See, the document starts with this figure because the content is somewhere here that we have placed. In this file, the top of the page, this is gone. Then you have the documents followed by the files at here. So this is the appropriate placement that LaTeX has chosen for this figure, whereas in this case we placed it specifically at the top. So when I say T, it goes to the top. When I say small b, it goes to the bottom. So in this document, now I've pushed this figure to the end of the first page. So wherein text is already there, so it has moved on to the next page. Okay, so let us now force the figure to be placed exactly on where we want it. Okay, so this is where I had actually given the content, insect pollinated nature. After this is where I have placed the figure now. So I want that also to appear the same way in the document. In that case, I put a H. So now let us see how LaTeX compiles this and sees. Yes, it has placed the figure exactly where I wanted it. Okay, so in some cases, this small h may work exactly. In some cases, you may have to end up using capital H. That is because the H placement, the small h placement is not very precise. Although in this case, it gave the appropriate answer, it may not be exactly precise. So if you need to be very specific on where it has to be placed, you have to use the capital H option. Okay, then in some cases you might want the figures to be floating in a separate page. So in that case you will put the option as P. Okay, now let us try that. So that is what has happened here. If you go through the document, this is what we have done. So now what we have done is we have checked out the placements of the figure in the file with different options. We saw a small h, we saw a T, we saw a B, we saw a P, and then we also saw a capital H. Any of these options could be used on how you place the figures in the correct space that you would like actually. Okay, and then we also saw how to scale the image or how to give specific text width or height. When we also scale, we can also use an option called angle. Okay, now let us say 45. Now let's see what happens to the image when I give an angle. I'm sorry, I wrote this but I forgot to remove that. So when we say angle, let us see what happens to the image. The image gets tilted in an angle of 45 degree. So you can rotate the image in this fashion however you like by pressing precise angles. So if I give 90 degrees, this is what you are going to get. Right? It's going to be perfectly perpendicular. And if you want to tilt the figure, then that becomes 180 degree. Right? The figure is going to travel to you upside down. So these are some options on how you can place your figures, scale your figures, and then rotate your figures or be specific in your placements of figures. Okay, with this we'll end this session. In the next session, we will see how to reference the figures or the equations that we have generated so far inside the document. Okay, so please subscribe to my channel for more videos. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you.